So, this is going to be brief. Really sorry I was such a creep to you when I was 12 to 14. Totally not something you or anybody else deserved, especially for such a prolonged period of time. Wasn't too good for me either, obviously. I'm also sorry I was so hell-bent on ruining your life or getting the word out of what you did when I was 14, 15. I was bonkers during that time period. So much went into it, but I don't need to explain. You also totally didn't deserve that. Despite what happened between us, I can't blame you for anything you really did. For the sexual shit, you were a kid trying to figure yourself out, and I didn't like you at the time. If that was why you chose me and for blocking me and hating me and stuff, I was being a huge creep to you, so you had every right to hate me. Anyway, I have a nice life. If you want to apologize for anything too, I'll stay here, but if we're done, you can just tell me to leave. Huh? I'm surprised. This is an actual apology, though I don't know if I can fully accept it. I don't know what's been going on in your brain or in your life, but to my knowledge, you have barely improved yourself. It does mean a lot knowing that you did apologize, though. That's reasonable. I don't blame you for not fully accepting it. I've only really started to improve very recently, so I can see now why people feel the way they do about me. I can see that I was just a mess, not to mention you've been roped up in my antics for years. I genuinely do not feel bad about it. I hope you find peace finally being away from me. I've mostly had peace, but I doubt I ever will. I would have gone off on you, to be honest, but what's the point? I hope I can actually take your word for you actually trying to improve yourself, because if so, then that's a huge, and if not, then you've repeated a 4-year-long cycle once again. No worry about the improving thing. I've been off the internet for like a month and I'm way different now. I think if I keep spending some time away and continuing my real life, I'll really get somewhere. Anyway, this isn't really about me. I hope you improve yourself too, and generally find peace. That's something everybody deserves, I think. I've been actively improving myself for a while now. I've had a lot of time to think. It's been, 2 years since we last truly spoke. I'm not going to count my impulsive outburst towards you as speaking to you. And as I said, I really hope that's the truth, that you're improving, because I'm not going to lie or hide it. If you are, hopefully you were a truly fucked up person. You got problems, man. But if you are improving, then holy shit, that's huge. Genuinely. I will admit as well that I haven't been the greatest to you. I lashed out towards you and used you, but I didn't truly know the implications of what I was doing. I didn't fully realize what that would do to you in the long run. I'm really glad to hear that you've been improving. I may not be improving as much as I need to be, but I sure am improving a ton more than I would be by just laying around on my laptop all day, and that's something I really do think I am getting somewhere, and I have a life now, not to mention it's just been a month so far, so there's so much the future holds for me, I think. I forgive you for what you did to me. Considering all the circumstances, we were both just kids. I was fucked up. I was a huge creep to you. You were figuring yourself out. All that, I'm glad you acknowledged the things you did to me. That sure is some improvement, great improvement from you. Apparently the mental hospital was a psych ward, but whatever. What's the difference? I might get a therapist because I have a few problems, but I'm coping with them really fast. It was the psychiatric unit of a children's hospital. A dice thread doesn't exist yet, so this is the most fitting place for me to throw this. Mortis may not have been cut after all. Mortis is still the leader of DICE, and to no surprise, DICE hasn't changed at all. I've added more things to the DICE folder. The main thing to note is that after examining the server with a tool that lets you download channels as HTML files, I was able to see every channel that exists. However, I could only download the ones I had access to. With this, I can now confirm that they do in fact still have a channel for sharing images of their self-harm, and actively encouraging it, despite them trying to cover this up by editing their card a few months ago to say they don't. They're so bad at hiding this, it's honestly sad. Appreciated it. He's not in the hospital or anything, but the situation is kind of shitty because his parents are. But it's not my place to disclose that with a bunch of internet randos, so take my word for it. That's about it. If you have any other questions, just reply or note me or something, I don't know. So it appears I was kind of right about Birdie's parents finally deciding to act like parents. Charlie is now a member of DICE, and it's also in this thread. They had initially contacted me because they wanted to make a few edits to the complete Birdie timeline document, so there's some context as to how I was able to speak with them to begin with. Today I heard a rumor that they joined DICE, going around, as well as a few screenshots of random messages from them in the DICE server. I decided to ask them privately about it to see if it was true, while also clarifying that they are fully aware of the beliefs of the DICE server as well as the people who run it. They confirmed the fact they have joined, and they did not seem to care that pretty much. Did you join DICE? Yeah, well, it's not even bad as people say it is. Well, you are aware that there is video evidence of the leader R-wording his dog, correct? Yeah, and I think it's gross. Then I'm not sure as to why you would join a server that is both led by him and filled with people who worship him. Whether they're just trying to look cool or genuinely brain dead, I can't tell. Probably both. Could you walk me through your thought process? He's not that active, and a lot of people there are actually really nice, which is surprising. Most of the edginess on the server is simply just to get a reaction out of people. For shock value or not, paraphilia is paraphilia. I have screenshots from the current server that show they still support that shit. Alongside that, I even received an HTML download recently of the current little chat, which had every message from the start to October 31st or so, and one of the first images I saw was someone's self-harm, asking if Mortis liked it, which was then followed up with the members encouraging it and even asking how to replicate it. I feel like I shouldn't have to explain why that isn't the appropriate response to seeing someone's harm self. I was also given proof that there is still an entire chat dedicated to sharing image of their self-harm, and I'd bet money that it's the same thing. DICE is not a good place. Charlie, being there is a terrible idea for safety reasons, drama reasons, and every other reason imaginable. It also discourages me to continue working with you, considering it is against my entire motive. I cannot control what you do. However, if you wish to continue being a member of DICE, our collaboration ends here. I mean, seriously, look at this shit. Personally, I do view DICE with a grain of salt. It is for the most part just edgelords trying to look cool, and I've laughed at how stupid Mortis content is, but what concerns me is how it may affect the mental development of some of its members, mainly the younger ones. Mortis is someone who completely confirmed to film themselves R-wording their dog a minimum of 2 times in the DICE server. They tried to make that and other paraphilias such as P-word and necrophilia, zoophilia, and etc. seem normal when in reality it's disgusting. They want their members to view higher-ups like gods. Seriously, they have praise channels for every higher-up and essentially groom them into thinking that they can disappoint them. They're worthless, a place that actively tries to manipulate you into idolizing people like Mortis and viewing immoral sexual attractions as normal is extremely dangerous for all the kids that keep joining it due to them constantly advertising it as a safe place to be. Seriously, the last thing we need is another Birdie. made an account to correct this. Don't expect me to actively use it, since I didn't want to spam Jack's page and I don't want this to become a whole thing. Based on what he said, he said, I'm sure you guys can assume that this is based on context clues. Jack has not had proper internet access since maybe June, July, and periodic access in August before vanishing. I got into contact with him on a call in early November through his sister, and that was it. He's not cyberstalking Jay. He asked me to pass along a message to him that he wanted to apologize, and that's when he got his internet back, and Jay didn't take it well. There's nothing to get out of checking Jay or Jack's Twitter or DeviantArt every 5 seconds for info, as if anything new is going to come out of it, nor randomly assume things without confirmation. I will provide updates if necessary on his DA page, but nobody has had direct contact with him otherwise. The full story isn't always open to the public, and I'm hoping that nobody else wants to do this become Christian. Replied to the wrong thing, corrected that. Around 30 or so minutes ago, I remembered accusations from back in the day about Toxic being a PDF file, so I tried just searching Toxic on YouTube. Even though I couldn't find anything from the area I was looking for, I did stumble across a video for the year in documents talking about how Toxic groomed a bunch of people and is generally a sex pest. There doesn't seem to be any Google Drive that has all the info in one place for any Google Drive for that to matter, but I've attempted to throw as much of the main stuff as I could into a temporary drive for the meantime. I'll start moving it into the proper birdie drive once I have more information, screenshots. Something also worth noting is at one point he talked about was friends with Garbage Chokers, somebody who's already been established as a PDF file. And if anyone is familiar with the situation or could look further into it, that would be helpful, because I am having a stroke trying to figure it out. This thread is so ungodly autistic it hurts. I was interested in Birdie from what I heard on the grapevine, but the more I read about her in the thread, the more sad I got. Yeah, obviously she's fucked in the head, but I think that was always going to be a given, seeing her parents are shit and keeps getting poked with a stick by the other side. What I mean is the best lolcows are the ones you can just watch. They produce content without being provoked. The think of the Gunt. He streams regardless of whoever spurgs at him. That's what makes him funny. He's a giant sped by his own nature. We get milk from him because he's a gigantic sped, not because people are weaning at him to make him dance like a monkey. And Ralph isn't, was it a child in a neglectful situation, having his mental illness being pushed to peak levels by fags on the internet. You guys keep comparing her to Chris. The best Chris trolls were the people who weren't fucking with him just to make him miserable. Liquid Chris just pretended to be Chris himself, and he ended up being the funniest. And well, a like troll because he wasn't trying to make Chris miserable. Was Blue Spike and the latest shit funny? Of course. But because of shit like that, here we are 10 years later, so with Chris absolutely batshit insane in jail for incest. It's just sad. I'm not saying you people are fucking with Birdie. I'm saying that the woke crowd are, because at the end of the day, they're just as bad as the weens that fucked with Chris. It's just people trying to get a monkey to dance, except worse because they're trying to make themselves seem righteous over it. Yeah, Birdie is fucked up. I'm not trying to defend her by any means. I'm just saying it's super obvious how she got this way. Good on her for not being on the internet as much. Good on her for apologizing to people she wronged. Was it a sincere apology? Who knows, but it's a step in the right direction. I just don't think any of this is funny. It makes me sad. I've seen the thread watch since it started, but never read it until now because of how retarded the thread is. You people talk like you've grown up on Tumblr and now realize you're cool for being above it and realize that Troons are stupid. They are. But you will have the Tumblr stench on you from the walk you talk on Dice. It just seems more like edgy teenagers being edgy than people like Wolf or any other zoo sadists. It doesn't surprise me that they post their nudes or claim they have F-worded dogs, but just by what show here they seem miles away from being as fucked in the head as the zoo sadists. They're just being retarded teenagers. I'm going to soapbox here for a second. Earlier in this thread, I was a lot more active because from the OP and the people interested posting in this thread, Birdie was made to sound like a sociopath nightmare child, and to an extent she is. But the more I read, the more I realize why she's a sociopath nightmare child. Look at the DM she sent someone about trying to F-word a ferret. Obviously, trying to F-word an animal is ungodly, fucked up. But she's trying to tell someone, I assume a friend, that she feels awful about it and doesn't know why she did it. If you compare this to Zeus Sadis in the same board, you'll see a huge difference in behavior. Birdie is telling someone in private about something fucked she did, something she regrets. The Zeus Sadis never regretted their behavior until they were caught. And even when they were caught, they weren't upset with what they did. They were legalized. They had no issue with abusing animals. What Birdie did is fucked, but she is telling someone she knows it's fucked, and the person puts her on blast. And that's a huge issue with the younger generation. You do anything fucked up, whether you regret it or not, and it gets shown for the world to see. Obviously, that's something we do here as well, but we're not personally involved in Birdie's life. We're not her friends. She DM'd this to someone she thought she could trust, and obviously she couldn't, and this is happening time and time again. If you have that happen to you and you're already mentally fucked up, you're going to go absolutely apeshit. Probably the biggest problem with today's society is sensationalism. The thread started out as this person is completely insane and a danger to society, but she's fucking crazy because she lives in a shit house with shit parents and the community she involves and are fucking with her. People will take anything you do wrong and amp it up. If you think BLM is dumb, you're instantly labeled a racist Nazi. It doesn't matter why you think BLM is wrong. You get these huge accusing labels slapped on you, and because of those labels, other homosexuals come in and yell at you for having the wrong political ideology. Birdie is fucked up. I agree some of the shit she said in the ring is sociopathic. I agree she probably has a paraphilia with young teens, preteens, but at least she seems to be getting help now. I honestly think she's being honest about that, because she isn't on her accounts nearly as much now, if at all. I hope she stays offline and continues to work on her mental health. Hopefully she gets into a better home environment. I'm not here to tell you what to think. That's the beauty of the farms. You can say whatever you want without getting banned or shat on by 100,000 different gender blobs. But on the other side of the coin, I can tell you I think you're being absolutely retarded. And from stickers on my last post, it seems there's a handful of people who agree with me. This is a child in a fucked up situation who's being taken advantage of by speds. This is Blue Spike telling Chris to shove the medallion up his ass all those years ago. And because many other Blue Spike trolls decided to fuck with Jen, he's now batshit loony and in jail. I just hope Birdie continues to stay offline and continues to get help before she becomes like Chris or worse. Same here. However, I feel like the abused birdie is an example of a young and vulnerable mind becoming addicted to the internet and not growing up in a good environment may become an abuser. There's a clear example on why kids should stay off the internet. Twitter cancel culture. Vulnerable minds such as birdies have parasocial relationships with it and gender. Oh, absolutely, but getting help this early like she seems to be doing hopefully has lessened the chances of what happening. Like I was saying, I definitely think she has some sociopathic traits, and I think she has some dangerous paraphilias. What I'm trying to get at is the people who interact with her are adding fuel to the fire for being assholes, and they think they're not right for doing it. We're assholes here on the farms, but it's extremely discouraged to interact with the cows, because you'll fuck them up even worse, and at best you'll just look like a sped. We're here to watch and discuss among our peers. There's a lot of threads with a similar situation as the thread. Sped being a sped online, fucked with their peers in an abusive home. Casey is the best example I know, but you'll see the people in the thread talking about how they hope her is sad. I just don't find trolling her funny, and I don't find trolling Birdie funny. Birdie is absolutely in a position to become a really fucked up adult, but she seems to be getting help. I just really hope that's the case. Honestly, when I initiated Stumbly across Birdie in 2016, I was honestly impressed at their art skills at such a young age. Sure, they did a bunch of tweening animation, was rough in the style, was an uncomfortable blend of cutesy cartoon, more abomination, but it had some more consistency compared to the kids around her age. Perhaps in an alternate universe, they did not get back into a bunch of stupid drama. Birdie could have become some sort of professional animator. Back on the cancel culture cringe shit, what I did want to mention more about blatant hypocrisy surrounding the current generation of teens raised on the internet. When Birdie first got into some hot soapy water after posting her whack-ass infatuations with Kitty Dog on Google+, along with the emergence of the porn she drew over OC and Sleepy King, a lot of people flamed her pretty hard. Everyone at the comatose 90-year-old dementia-ridden grandmother rushed to the pump out to the same moral fagging shit that crying Birdie for drawing not safe for work art. The irony is if ever oppressed, hypersexual 14-year-old on the internet drawing shitty porn drawings, even Birdie's inspirations, predecessors drew porn when they were in their teens. They all make the same excuse saying it's all for anatomy practice, but they're really just trying a bullshit reason so they don't get in trouble. If it's in a drawing of their furry ass OC getting anally probed in the bathtub by an electric toaster, it is an anatomy practice, it's fucking porn. Birdie was just misunfortunate enough to draw the thing of the tens upon thousands of previous and Patreon saints of social media artists to the point where it's psychologically broke her. Since we're on the topic now, I will say that the Birdie drama as a whole honestly does not make more sad than amused. I didn't want to say it before since I expected to be bashed with slurs, but this really is depressing. Sure, it's easy to get a good laugh out of Birdie. Dice were doing the same lazy shit they always do, but when you compare how Birdie first stated of how they are now, it's really sad, and it honestly makes me terrified about the internet can affect children. I first found Birdie a few weeks or so before the whole Rosie fiasco ever happened, since at the time I found Birdie shit supposed to be funny. Before someone asked, I turned 18 in April, so I'm only a bit older than Birdie and old enough to be posting here, but also not a 30-year-old smirk like Maddie or Garbage. Those people are creeps. I think it's safe to say that Birdie's behavior is mostly to blame on Maddie and Garbage. In the message where they admit to R-wording their ferret, they specifically mentioned it was during the time period Maddie was grooming them, and Garbage admitted to giving Birdie the most of the idea of their R-word comic. I don't really know anything about that comic, but it's pretty bad from what I've heard, and most likely influenced Birdie to become who they are now. The first influence of Birdie's drama with Birdie, left her obsessive creepy over Kitty Dog, resulted in a lot of negative attention being thrown at them, which then they caused more Birdie drama and discussion around Birdie drama, which would lead to Maddie and Garbage hearing about Birdie, etc. If it wasn't for Birdie and Garbage, Birdie would have never R-worded the ferret. They probably would have stopped being a pervert at like 14 and would actually have a chance at redemption, for they would never actually been like this ever. Obviously, Birdie's batshit insane parents and actually all the brands that were made back then. The fact Birdie R-worded their ferret is what puts them past the point of redemption for me, but I still can't help but feel bad about how they became the way they are, even if they are horrible. I really hope the Discord, some form of government, permanently dismantles Dice Org, because the place really just seems to be creating an entire group of people who are going to end up like Birdie.